Hi, welcome back to Home Time. This is a Creekside project. We've been tracking the construction here. Now we want to focus a little bit on things you can do at your own place.
We've got quite a list today. The painters are well underway, and that's actually something that we all do from time to time.
Including a good option for covering the walls.
And there's something new for the ceiling that we think you're going to like. So we'll see how that goes together.
The ceiling should be interesting, but we have a few things to get done before we can move on that.
Yep, looking forward to that. Hopefully you can stick around.
One thing that we'll be working on now that the weather's a little bit nicer is it's time to put up the brackets on the house. Our architect, Mike Sherritt, has strategically placed brackets around the house. It kind of gives it that feeling of stability and support, as well as a great decorative item. So before they did any siding, Bucky and Wes went around and put up some plywood space holders here. The guys sided around it. Now we've removed that plywood and we're all ready to place our brackets. Now we're making the real brackets out of some hefty pieces of Western red cedar. So the first thing we did is took our plan and blew that up to get a good look at exactly what each one of those brackets look like. Now you can see it's going to take some fairly massive pieces of cedar to be able to get enough meat for these things. Now the tricky part is taking our blown up area here from the plan and turning that into a template that we can actually start applying to the cedar, and that's where Bucky comes in. Kind of one of your specialties, right?
Well, you nominated me for the specialty, but
you're kind of drafted.
Yeah. Well, what we found out that works pretty well is, we kind of scale off the plan and take a piece of cardboard and make a template. Then that gives us our basically rough dimensions that we need for cedar, because we really want
everybody signs off on it then, so nobody gets blamed then, right?
Right. Everybody signs off on it. It's kind of a soft copy, we call it.
Yeah.
And that also gives you your sizes then for the dimension of lumber you need, so you're not, wasting a lot of lumber.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then we come to our little drafting table right here, our big sheet of plywood, and then we actually draw the bracket right on the plywood. And if you make a mistake, you just take the old orbital eraser and erase it right off. And it works pretty well. So once we draw that out and everybody signs off on that, then we come up with I call it a hard template. So we transfer this one to this one and then cut out our swoop and all our detail.
Yeah, so then we'll take this and we can use this to trace out onto the cedar what we're going to be cutting. Now the advantage of having a hard template like this is we minimize the amount of cedar we use. So in other words, rather than gluing up two long pieces like this, we can see exactly how much cedar we're going to use. So we do a longer piece and a shorter piece that just gets us to the outside edge of the outline of that template. With it glued up, it's on its way to the bandsaw.
So our bracket piece has been made. Now what we've got to do, we've got the challenge of cutting it out. What we've got is we got a straight line, we've got a radius, and we got detail top and bottom. Now what I like to do is use a circular saw to create my straight line. Now that circular saw isn't deep enough to cut all the way through. So I'll have to pass on the top, flip it over, pass on the back. That's going to leave a little bit of material left over that I'll have to take out with the bandsaw. We'll clean that up a little later with a sander. But now I want to work on the detail at the bottom of my brackets. We got the detail at the top and bottom done. That just leaves us with the long swooping radius. Now one thing you want to keep in mind is that once you start on your radius cut, you want to keep a nice, slow, even motion all the way through. You don't want to stop and try and pull out the blade. So once you start and you're committed, make sure you continue through with that radius, take your time, and just let the blade do the work. And you can feel it as you go, all the way through.
Now, once we get these all cut out, we're obviously going to have to buff them up a little bit with some sanders. For the flats, we're going to be using like a random orbital, which works great. But for the curved part, we're going to use the old spindle sander. Now, the spindle sander has a big table that will tilt. Also comes with different size sanding drums. Now, how this works is you turn it on, and this whole drum goes up and down and spins real fast. The up and down motion is going to keep you from getting like a pattern inside of there. The key is just run it through, nice, gentle, even, full lengths. You do that, 6, 8 times, and when you're done, your curve ends up nice and smooth. And one sweet thing about this is this thing shows up already ready to go. You just plug it in. No assembly required. Well, that is going to do it for today's show. I hope we showed you some stuff that you can use on your own projects.
Absolutely. For Miriam and Dean, I'm Wes.
I'm Bucky.
Thanks for watching Home Time.
Say, speaking of Miriam and Dean, you notice how they just kind of disappear?
When it gets dusty and nasty, they leave us alone.
Yeah, we start sanding and then they just take off. Well, I guess we'll have to finish it up.
Let's go for a ride.
Go for a ride.